Pia and Jan hit it off instantly and have a dreamy first month of their relationship. When she takes Jan to a game night with her friends, everything seems to be going wrong for him. Jan rides his bike near the park while speaking to his best friend and business partner Alex on the phone. Jan gets nervous when he notices his dog, Eddie, humping another one in the park. As he tries to separate them, Luna's owner, Pia, also comes along. She jokes about wanting child support for Luna if Eddie gets her pregnant. That seems fair. Jan apologizes for not knowing where Eddie gets his moves from. Pia is a photographer and invites him and Eddie to her studio. Jan also asks her to stop by his bike store sometime. When Pia walks away, he immediately calls her to book an appointment for a photo shoot. Pia takes photos of Eddie and Jan, and they start hanging out a lot after that. A few weeks later, Jan makes her a romantic breakfast in bed. He wants to hang out that day, but Pia needs her to meet her friends for a sacred game night. It's a tradition for their group, where they play games like Monopoly and Uno. She invites him to meet her friends, who are like family to her. Alex knows that the fancy people in Grunewald will surely judge Jan. He hasn't finished high school and still lives with his best friend. Jan doesn't think a simple game night can go so wrong. Alex starts testing an airbag that doesn't inflate. He suggests that Jan should take a gift for Pia's best friend Caro to get on her good side. He even asks Jan to dress appropriately for Grunewald. Alex brings a game Jan can take along for the night, and an expensive airbag for Caro. Pia shows Jan her championship cup from last year and reminds him that they take these games very seriously. They're headed to Caro's house, who has been her friend since kindergarten. She runs a furniture mail-order business and lives with her teacher husband, Oliver, and a child, Emma. Another friend, Sheila, who is a pharmacist, is also joining them. Caro's weird brother, Kurt, is also living with them. When they arrive, Pia and Jan run into Caro's neighbor, Mr. Fieper. He asks Pia to let Caro know that wild bears are roaming the area again. Caro asks them to ignore him and likes it when Jan compliments her house. Jan presents his airbag to Caro and brags about its safety features. When he demonstrates it for her, it inflates and ruins her freshly done hair. Jan feels terrible for upsetting her, but Pia assures him Caro will be fine. When she goes to help Caro in the bathroom, Jan introduces himself to the others. Oliver is upset with Pia's win last time and wants to beat her. Caro, on the other hand, is worried about whether Jan earns enough from his bike store. Pia takes a stand for him because she loves being around him. Meanwhile, Oliver makes fun of Jan when he learns that he doesn't know much about games. Oliver is very serious about every game, especially fantasy role-playing games. Caro asks Pia to join her company as the new chief visual content designer. She doesn't think Pia's photo studio business is stable enough for a comfortable lifestyle. Back at the table, when Jan shares that he has been with Pia for a month, Sheila starts discussing her ex-girlfriend, Zora. She thinks they're still together after 5 years, even if everyone knows they're on a break. Kurt asks for Jan's number and forces him to answer it in front of him. When Jan plays along and pretends to talk to him, Kurt thinks he is weird. Jan is freaked out by them and excuses himself to take Alex's call. Alex is walking Eddie in the park, hoping to find a date like Jan found Pia. That will surely work. Jan loves the mansion even if he admits the people are weird. When he opens a window to check if they have a pool, a bird flies out of the room. Jan tries to get her back, but Alex assumes Jan is asking him for help. When Jan realizes he just freed Oliver's pet bird, he tries his best to get her back. He soon comes out to join the others and pretends everything is fine. Caro asks everyone to enjoy the snacks she worked so hard to make. Everyone praises her guacamole, which reminds Sheila of Zora. They begin with a ritual before the activity game. Pia tries to make Jan guess some movies, but he doesn't know her enough to get the references. Jan feels terrible for not being smart enough, but Pia is happy to lose the game with him. Meanwhile, Sheila keeps getting jealous of how cute they are. Caro's au pair, Gabriella, has put Emma to sleep. Oliver asks if she wants to play the game, but Caro dismisses him. Oliver discusses how busy he is with his cockatoo bird, Helmut Kohl. John realizes this is the same bird he set free by mistake. Oliver warns everyone to never open the door in his study. Too late, Oliver knows Helmut Kohl won't survive because of the neighborhood cats. Just then, Jan notices Alex gesturing to him and makes an excuse to go to the bathroom. Alex is relieved to see Jan is not hurt after assuming he needed help. Jan doesn't know why he's there, but asks Alex to find the cockatoo. Alex downloads an app to understand what sound a cockatoo makes. Jan realizes the door is closed when he tries to enter, so he finds another way in. As his luck would have it, he ends up in Gabriella's room as she's stepping out of the shower. He notices that she's making the guacamole Caro is taking credit for. Gabriella claims she only does it because Caro works so hard. Just then, Caro comes to get more guacamole and wonders why Jan is in her room. She decides to not prod too much because Jan caught her guacamole lie. When they join the group, Cora shares that she offered Pia a job. Pia hasn't decided anything yet, but Caro thinks a stable job is important if she wants children. Pia asks them to table the topic since it's too soon to discuss this with John. After a while, when the doorbell rings, Oliver is suspiciously excited to get the door. Pia's ex-boyfriend, Matthias, joins them for game night and hopes it's not awkward for Jan. Pia scolds Oliver for inviting him, but Oliver doesn't see any harm in including his friend. Pia suggests leaving, but Caro is sure they can act like adults. Sheila also doesn't want to get on his bad side, because she has an appointment with Matthias. He's their dentist, and Sheila knows Pia also went to see him recently. Pia explains that she went to him for an emergency because she already has another dentist now. Matthias tries to inquire about Luna, but Pia asserts that she is friends with Jan's dog, Eddie, now. Matthias keeps bragging about how he and Pia rescued Luna. Pia drags Jan to the kitchen and suggests it's time to leave. Jan doesn't mind being there with her ex unless Pia is hiding something. Pia assures him he knows everything, so they decide to head back. Soon enough, Mr. Fieper rings their doorbell after spotting a boar in their yard. While Oliver dismisses him, Jan texts Alex to watch out for the nosy neighbor. Oliver hears something outside, but Jan assures him it must be the cat he mentioned. Oliver hopes the cats don't get to the freshly poured concrete that he laid out as the foundation for his play tower. Right then, Alex steps on the concrete and tumbles the play tower. Matthias is disappointed with their scores and brags about how he and Pia never lost any game together. Oliver and Matthias also team up and make fun of Jan not knowing much about games. When Matthias suggests booking a vacation home in Greece, Pia is in no mood to make holiday plans. During their next game, Matthias tries to find out what Jan does and tries his best to put him down. Jan retaliates this time with a joke about selling overpriced bikes to dentists like him. Jan observes as Matthias refuses to have salsa since it's too spicy. For this game, Oliver asks Jan to roll the dice. While Oliver makes fun of Jan's wrong answer, Matthias notices something wrong with his teeth. Jan gets distracted by Alex chasing a bird and tries to divert the others. He suddenly becomes interested in Sheila's love life, who is more than happy to discuss how Zora hated that she didn't give her space. When Sheila shows him Zora's picture, she notices that she has been online recently. Pia asks her to stop stalking Zora and delete her number. Instead, Sheila asks Jan to look at a text she wrote to possibly send to Zora. Matthias seems curious too, but returns the phone to Jan and pretends that he sent the message. Jan tries to explain that he didn't touch the phone, but no one believes him. Sheila starts panicking about sending a text to Zora with intimate details and rushes out. Matthias and Pia try to fix Sheila's chair and notice a stimulant that falls out of her bag. They know she must have easy access to such meds as a pharmacist. They continue playing the game, in which Matthias seems to know all the answers. He starts quoting a poet and remembers his trip to Montparnasse with Pia. He shares intimate details and shows Jan some photos of them. When there's another question in the game about the Bahamas, Matthias suddenly starts playing a slideshow of his trip with Pia there. He asks Jan to check out the photos carefully, but Pia seems uncomfortable. They come across one where Matthias is proposing to her. Jan doesn't know they are engaged, so Matthias again hopes it's not awkward for him. Kurt tries to help Jan and delay the game, but Oliver finds another dice to roll. Oliver and Matthias keep shaming Jan when he doesn't know the answers. Soon enough, Matthias decides to play the guitar. Pia clarified that the proposal didn't mean anything to her. While she's still upset, Jan steps out for fresh air after getting an emergency message from Alex. He finds Alex caught in a net in the yard next door. While Alex suffers this fate trying to find the bird, Jan shares how horrible the night is because of Matthias. Jan joins them again, after which they all decide to play his game. He explains that when he reads out a card, the others at the table need to write down the names of the person most suited to the activity. They all write Oliver's name for someone who drinks a lot. During the game, Matthias learns about Caro's job offer to Pia and asks her to take it. Jan steps in to assert that Pia can make decisions for herself. Matthias turns that around too and assumes John is jealous of Pia earning more than him. They continue the game, where everyone thinks Cara is most likely to be burnt out. Matthias tries to show that he works a lot too. He thinks his relationship with Pia ended because of it. He even drags his sex life in the middle of the conversation, and how they couldn't keep their hands off each other. Matthias apologizes to Pia for letting someone as great as her leave. She gets very uncomfortable as he touches her thigh, so she forgives him so they can move on from this topic. Matthias starts talking about museums and is sure Jan is not interested in culture. Pia wants to make Jan look good, so she makes up a story about him collecting antiques. The next question is about the person most likely to be admitted to a psych ward, and everyone thinks that's Oliver because of his role-playing games. Oliver feels like they think of him as a loser. When Caro and the others follow him, Oliver has already dressed up as the King of Elves, Ogundur, for the next game. Oliver thinks Caro is embarrassed of him because he doesn't earn enough. Caro refuses to apologize for wanting a comfortable life and working hard for it. Oliver points out that he doesn't see her anymore because she keeps popping pills. They all realize the pills in Sheila's bag were for Caro. Oliver shares that they also stopped having sex because Caro is tired all the time. Caro thinks that's why he hangs out with Gabriella so much. She saw his red shirt in her room and asked how it got there. Oliver refuses to answer that and starts playing his fantasy game. John feels relieved when Alex texts him about finding the bird. Jan finds Alex with Gabriella in the room since he also ended up in her kitchen. Jan is disappointed that Alex assumed a regular dove is a cockatoo. He asks Alex to find the right one while he takes care of the games. Pia wonders where Jan disappeared, but Matthias confronts him first. He's offended that Jan called him a big mouth and asks him to apologize. Jan refuses to do that, so Matthias challenges him to a duel. They decide to battle it out with nude ping pong. John decides that the loser will chug a bottle of chili sauce. He has noticed Matthias's spice intolerance, but he is too proud to back out of a challenge. Matthias takes the lead in the game and calls Jan a victim. Matthias soon hits John so hard in his private parts that everyone else can feel the pain. John composes himself and is more determined to beat Matthias. He gets aggressive and celebrates his victory over Matthias way too enthusiastically. Sheila finally gets a reply from Zora, who wants to call her. Jan is way too excited to see Matthias gulp down chili sauce. Matthias pretends like he doesn't feel anything, but starts screaming soon. Pia is angry about how insensitive Jan is being and asks him to help Matthias. Jan offers Matthias a bottle, but it turns out to be breast milk. Caro is frustrated about how bad the game night is after she worked so hard for it. Jan points out that she didn't cook and is just trying to be fancy. Caro retaliates by asking him to explain why he was in Gabriella's room. Pia is now too worked up with the competition between Jan and Matthias. Jan explains that Matthias started it, and now even he doesn't think he fits into Pia's perfect world. He thinks Pia will soon accept the job with Caro and become fancy like the others. Matthias suddenly apologizes to Pia for his behavior. He clarifies that their kiss the other day gave him some hope. Jan didn't know they kissed, so Pia clarified that it happened before they became a couple. Jan is still offended and asks Alex to forget the bird so they can go home. Oliver realizes they're talking about his bird and panics. Alex forgets his keys near the boar net, and they get caught again in it. Caro is upset Pia didn't tell her about the kiss with Matthias. Pia doesn't think it meant anything, and asks them not to target Jan. She also thinks it was horrible of Oliver to invite Matthias to the game night. Oliver makes it clear that he only did it after Matthias suggested they have a chance. Pia understands that's why Oliver kept reading cards in Trivial Pursuit, whose answers Matthias already knew about. Jan is afraid of getting shot in the net by Mr. Fieper and not being able to tell Pia how much she means to him. Matthias drunk dials Pia from his car and confesses his love for her. Matthias thinks he's a fighter and wants to defeat a tiger for her. All the friends are worried when they realize he is headed to the zoo. Jan and Alex hear a gunshot because Mr. Fieper subdued the cockatoo to help it survive. He frees them and helps Jan take Helmut Kohl to the house. Only Kurt is at home when they drop by. Pia ignores John's call as they rush to the zoo. She is worried about Caro popping pills, but Sheila has been giving her placebos. Pia respects the empire Caro has built, but she doesn't want to take the job with her. Caro also understands that Pia needs to follow her own path and is with Jan, because she can be herself with him. When they arrive at the zoo, they spot Matthias's puke. Jan also joins them and assures Oliver that his bird is safe. They spot Matthias's phone in the tiger's enclosure, so Jan jumps into it to help Pia. When he's faced with the tiger, Pia and her friends try to find a rope to get him out. Jan apologizes for acting out because he was afraid to lose her. Pia also admits she regrets kissing Matthias, but she knows she only has feelings for Jan. Kurt manages to get his hands on a rope just in time to save Jan's life. Matthias walks towards them from the vending machine. They realize he dropped his phone in the tiger's enclosure by mistake and never went in. John becomes the hero and admits to Pia that he had a fun night. Oliver shows Caro a video of him and Gabriella dancing. He clarifies that he was planning to surprise Caro for their anniversary with dance lessons. Sheila finally breaks up with Zora and thanks John for sending the message to give her closure. When Matthias tries to take credit for that, they all know he was responsible for it. 4 weeks later, Jan cooks for Pia before her game night. All the friends come over to Jan's place with the trophy since he's part of the group now.